Hi, this is Wishop, and this is your March teacup reading for the 2019 first quarter forecast that I've been doing. There's a variety of divinatory methods to choose from, and you can mix and match the readings any way you like. This one, I used three different teacups, and this one I'm using a set which is called the Four Cup and Saucer. And on the cup it says, "Wouldst thy fortune like to see? Perchance this cup will show it thee." So this one, I actually do use the saucer because the saucer has got all the zodiac symbols on it. And then the cup itself has a set of symbols. And with the book, you actually get guidance on what these symbols mean. There are also actually a number of good resources online that are free if you would like to look up teacup symbolism. I know there is, I believe, there's the Mystic Tea Room, which has history and it includes pictures of cups and also links to some traditional definitions and ways of preparing cups and stuff like that. So if you're interested in the background, I do mine a little bit differently, I admit, but it is always nice to know how people started and how they do it. And anyway, let's get into this particular cup reading. So when I looked at this one, the way you read these is where you have clumps, you look at the symbol that it's near. You see also I've got a collection of grounds in the bottom. Things in the bottom can be seen as obstacles at times. What is covered here, there's a ship in the very bottom and a clover here, and those are sort of supposed to be good luck in case you end up with bad luck down at the bottom of your cup. But the symbols that are covered over here that you can't really see are Saturn and the Sun. And those are very important this time of year because they've been kind of working in conjunction there in Capricorn. And it's creating this pressure over making concrete changes. So this somewhat, when I took my sort of preliminary look at this cup, seemed to relate somewhat to the January cup that had something to say about leadership and willingness to take leadership. And when you have the Sun and Saturn together, I think of Saturn as the old sun and Helios as the new sun. So the idea that we've got the old sun and the new sun, we've got a generational handoff, we've got old Coke, new Coke, maybe new Coke should be better in order for that to be a good example. But there's an idea about this changing of the guard, so to speak, which I felt was somewhat in the January cup reading too, if you want to check that out. So if we start looking from the handle of the cup, because you kind of go this way, or at least that's how I do it, you see see this just general speckle of tea leaves, which are around the knife there and the mountains and the torch and, oops, here we go, the snake. I hope you can see these. So, you know, the dagger will represent, like swords does, strife. The snake can represent deception and treachery. The mountains can represent stability, good success. The torch can represent fame. So you've got this mix of good and bad, and they're kind of speckled over sort of equally, like looking like in the early part from sort of now moving forward, you're dealing with a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And I think when you are dealing with the good stuff and the bad stuff as it happens, it can be hard to see the big picture. Or how you fit into it. It's not just even seeing the big picture. You don't even realize there is a big picture because you're just kind of busy getting through what you're doing. But I still feel like right here where we have a lot of clumping here with the cage and the apple, the apple can represent ambition, like if you think of polishing the apple for the teacher to getting good. The cage can represent limitation and restriction. It can represent bad luck. But in this case, where I see them sort of joined together by this clump, I sort of feel like you're looking to make an ambitious break, or somebody would like to offer you an ambitious break. It will be a break from some limitation that you're in, but it will require a change of ambition. So maybe you're moving up, or maybe you're moving to the side, but there's that sort of changing of the guard that we saw in the bottom of the cup here. And so here we have this breaking out of something to pursue an ambition. And what I see here, here's the fan, which can represent socializing, and the castle. It's a church, but in this case, I'm seeing it as a castle. Okay, because I see this character, to me, looks like a reclining queen. She looks like she's sitting back on her couch, and I don't think she represents us. I think she represents whoever it is who wants to give us this opportunity. And we have this clump near the rim, which tends to be important and urgent things, although this is still, this is a March teacup, so this is a, kind of a future looking thing. I feel like somebody is giving us the keys to the castle. So I really feel this sense of this leadership potential, but has risk associated with it, because you could take the keys to the castle, take over this position. You could follow your ambition from the apple on the cup. And then the queen is going to sit back and see how you do. Or the king sun, Saturn is going to sit back and watch and see how you do. So you can think of it like being the character like who wants to take the chariot of the sun. And you can worry that you're flying too high and you're going to fall. I think that's what the worry is. I think you actually have the capacity to do this. The sun tends to be yourself, and Saturn, and you can see they're equally covered. You're not so much less than the old keeper of the keys, if you will. So whoever was keeping the keys, whoever was king of the castle, that kind of an idea, you're not so much less than that person. But the chance you have to pursue your ambition, whatever that looks like, someone's going to kind of take hands off, and that could kind of freak you out, because you're going to be on your own worried about how you're going to do, because they go, fine, you want to be the king? Great, here you go. And really, it's the opportunity of a lifetime, or at least of this quarter, right? So as we move around the cup, we see here's the glove and the heart, and there's a collection down here that sort of connects the two. And I feel like this leadership position, again, going back to the idea of leadership, will require some tough love on your part. It's going to require some firmness, a firm hand. And that might be awkward in some ways, but there is somebody watching. There is this character who is monitoring your progress. And because you've got, some clumping up here in the church and the castle, I do tend to see it as a benevolent kind of watching. I don't think they're watching hoping you'll fail. I think they're hoping that you'll do well. And then we have this little break here before we get back to the sort of speckle of everything. So I feel like we start with a lot of busy times, the ups and downs of everyday life in March that may even hide the fact that something big is on the horizon. And then this something big kind of shows up, and it's the keys to the castle, whatever that means. But it is really, even though the responsibility is big, It's being handed to you by a benevolent figure who thinks that you have what it takes. And that if your ambitions are really true, and if you really want to break out of some restriction that you're in, you kind of need to take it up and run with it. And it is going to stretch you, because you are going to have to be strong in ways that maybe you haven't before. You're going to have to find new ways to express your caring and compassion that don't make you a pushover. And that might be tough, but it's going to be great. It's going to really grow you. When I look at the saucer, because this set has a nice saucer, if we look at the Zodiac signs, right? Here's Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, Taurus. So we're working around from this heavy Capricorn area, and Aquarius and Pisces. Like, this is the section that we're in, right? And look at this distinct break right here. So right here where Gemini is, and right here where the letter in the cup is where there's this break. And I feel like we get this new responsibility, and we're carrying the load. And I wonder if maybe by the time we get to Gemini, we don't get news that, this isn't just a test. This is now yours. You've earned it. You've taken it over. That you get some news about this. So it could be that there's a situation going on at work and you have to take responsibility you didn't expect to, just to make things happen. And you do it. And then by March, you find out, or just a little after, you find out, well, we've actually decided not to hire someone for that position. We'd just like to give it to you, and you take it. So something like that could be going on in a work situation. But let's talk about the spiritual possibilities here too, or the personal development possibilities. Because this is going through into this Taurus area, and we've got Saturn and the Sun, and we've got the sense of limitations. There's definitely a limitation, a personal limitation, and it looks like one that you have at least been complicit in putting on yourself. It hasn't been all put on from the outside. It's maybe something you've agreed with to a certain point. Like, you're right, I'm not ready for that, or I've never been very good at that, or, something like that, where you sort of agreed with that limitation. Sorry for the shaky phone. And I feel like you're moving into where someone hands you the keys and you take it and you find that you're actually better at it than you thought. And while there are some challenges, they're not more than you can handle. The key for me is a symbol of solutions. So yeah, there's some need for tough love here, but you've got lots of solutions too. And the people who put you in charge, or the divine providence that put you in charge of this situation, knew what it was doing. You weren't given this task or this role because you can't handle it. You were given it because you can. So teacups tend to be kind of concrete. So I would say this responsibility will have a worldly aspect, but it is going to challenge you internally as well. And I would say it's really going to bring out some hidden things in you that you're going to need to incorporate into your sense of self. And that this is going to create a change, like, the Taurian time period will tend to be, through May. So even though this cup goes through March, there'll be a process started by March that will probably have sort of a culmination sometime by May, and a very concrete worldly culmination by May. So even if this is a spiritual process you're going through, there are going to be results that you can see, touch, and feel in your real life as a result of whatever it is that you're doing. But I think that you have to trust that this character, hopefully that didn't skip too much, that this character who's offered you the keys to the castle isn't doing it to sabotage you. They're doing it to get you to come into your true self. So hopefully that made sense, or at least was fun. And until next time, rock on with your bad selves.